Just chase. Dr. Joe Griffin. Yeah. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intention is teaching their talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin. It's Dr. Joe Griffin. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intention is teaching their talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers, 50 to 80% that ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his tip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, seek change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin, yeah. He says recognize trauma, push past the pain. If you got a problem, go look at his frame. Work your perspective and look at it change. Find a goal, set it in critical thing. Manage time, self-awareness. These are the few of the things he's trying to get you to do every day. Do every day. Led 5 schools to increase test scores with his teacher principal collaboration. Things he give to you will have you take you drive to the next level. But first, you need to get some fuel at gas station. Supporting education leaders, creating a culture for kids that'll last for ages. Lack of access to quality professional development, that's outrageous. Got his doctorate in education. Leadership, research, make changes. Need to put the kids first and raise them. Need to teach them.
Great day, leaders. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Week 62 of the Empowerment Zone PD Cast. It's a great day, y'all. Let's go. So excited to be with you. Thankful to be with you. It's a blessing to be with you. I know that it is. Hopefully you can hear my volume well enough. I am traveling a little bit. Me and my yeah, we doing it like that today. But we still got to show up for you. We're committed to the process. We continue to be consistent. So we're going to have a great PD cast today. And we're talking about year-long testing strategies that you can implement, that you can use across the year, across the year. So definitely, as you come in, let me know where you're streaming in from. Let me know where you're streaming in from. That's important. Definitely want to. Might not be able to mess with the comments today, but I still want to be able to come back, look after the PD, and kind of respond to everything that you said and things of that nature. Because as you see, I am driving, got to be somewhere. My great niece is having a birthday party. She's 13, so we definitely want to be in the spot for that. So go ahead, you all. As always, let's do a moment of silence, you all. Let's do a moment of silence for our world. We always like to take into consideration what we're going through. That's for our educational system, for our government, for our elected officials, just for everything. Our homeless people, our people who have disabilities, mental illnesses. Let's just take a moment, you all, and give a moment of silence as we think about those particular situations that we all are experiencing and have seen people go through. Yeah. I like to always do that, you all. And it's not just symbolic. It's what we need to be doing for one another. We need a world where we're doing that for each other. You all, so as always, as I ask you, please sign in. Let me know where you're streaming in from. And before we get into these test prep strategies, I always like to lead in with a prelude. And today's prelude, we just want to talk about preparing without panic. Wow. I started entitled Preparing Without Pressure, but the pressure is a part of it as well. But the preparation allows you to do it without panicking. It allows you to continue the process. And with our preludes, we like to equate it to life as well as to everything that we do in the educational space. So as we think on that, prepare without panic. You say, Joe, what you talking about this week? What are you talking about this week? Prepare without panic. First thing, consistency builds confidence. So we got to make sure that we're specific in those particular areas of improvement, those particular skills that we want to enhance, those particular avenues that we use to drive toward our goals. That's in life as well as in education. You got to be specific about it. I like to use sports analogies. You know, Kobe, Bryant, Michael Jordan, they always talked about each year after each season, they went back and developed additional skills, whether it was one or two skills that they worked on to push their games to next levels. Consistency builds confidence. Getting those reps in, being specific about what it is that you're working on. That's a prime example of exactly how they did that. Prepare without panic. Prepare without panic. You see, preparation, it's not just, it's not punishment, it's growth. It's growth. So when you're prepared, you have to phrase it as growth opportunities, opportunities where you can improve. It's not punishment. You know, it's not something that you want to look at in a negative light. It's something that you want to look at as an ability to be better at what you're working on. Prepare without panic, right? So eliminate panic through preparation. When you are prepared, the panic dissipates. The panic alleviates because you know that I've got all confidence. I'm riding on high because I've already prepared. I've done what I could do. I put a post out, I think just maybe yesterday. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So you prepare as if you are already in the battle, as if you already are in the war, as if you're already on the field, right? As if you're already, for educators, as if you're already prepared for testing, or that you're already prepared to help students grow. I've already seen this in my head. I've already done this physically. So when it comes down to the bottom line, when it comes down to getting the outcomes or the results that you know and that you need, you've already done the work. So you don't feel the pressure. Prepare without panic, and it alleviates the pressure, right? So that's what we on today. And we want to talk about some test taking strategies that you can use year long, you know, that you can use year long to ensure that you and your team are in the right spaces, in the right places, and that you have everything going toward your destiny, your destination. This is crucial, y'all. So as we think about that, we want to rise to the level of the preparation. You're going to rise to the level of the preparation. You're not going to rise to the level of the test. I'm going to say that again because I don't want that to slip over your head. You're going to rise to the level at which you've prepared. So if the tests or the assessments are above the level that you prepared, how do we expect to reach that goal? Right? So you got to ensure that we are doing everything that we need to do all the time. Putting our students, putting our teachers in familiar spaces, in familiar places so they can excel. Prepare without the panic, and then definitely take into consideration that you want to use year-long testing strategies. That way you're already prepared. And I'm gonna give you some today. We're gonna talk about a few today. I am gonna be a little more brief today, just simply because I'm traveling, and also because yeah. We rolling. So when I think about that, I want to give you some ideas. And these may be ideas that you're already doing in your school, but I guarantee you there's going to be something in which we discuss that you can enhance it, take it to the next level. So let's start with our bell ringers and exit tickets. And we're talking about in reference as a year-long testing strategy. It's test prep. Why you say is it test prep? Well, number one, you want to use the complexity and format of your state testing with your bell ringers as well as your exit tickets. So if the teacher is discussing declarative sentences, what is a declarative sentence? They're not gonna necessarily have to write that on a standardized test, are they? So it might be better in which we put it in the complexity format where we give examples of those declarative sentences, and then the students have to pick it out. Now, sometimes we ask for the other pieces just because it takes a little longer to do. That stretches out the bell rings for teachers. I understand that. Perhaps we can influence them to have a couple of multiple choice standardized type test formatted questions for their bell ringers and for their exit tickets on purpose. You say, what do you mean? Well, on purpose, meaning that it looks just like it would. Think about the power in doing that every single day across all of your classes all of your in all of your classrooms across the school year. That's a lot of test exposure. But you've got to ensure that it's being done. Just because we went over bell ringers, just because we talked about the purpose of the bell ringer to tie lessons or to even look at the next part or next unit through bell ringer assessment, but we still have to think about how are we going to ensure that that occurs. So we want to make sure that we're doing them every day, and then on the fifth day, you might have a written justification where you come back and write it. Or you might have a bell ringer notebook. You say, what's a bell ringer notebook? Well, bell ringer notebook, that's where they keep all the bell ringers, and it can be an exit ticket as well. But this is the catcher. This is the thing. We're not just leaving those bell ringers out in the air. We're going to do a Friday review on them. Maybe if you don't want to do every week, every 2 weeks. Opportunity for great tier 2 instruction because it's supplemental to what you're doing in the classroom. It gives the students an opportunity to perhaps pair up or get in a group to go over the bell ringers and review all of those objectives that you covered for those past 2 weeks. Quick way to bring your classroom community together, as well as determine who is learning the objectives, right? All of this is important, and it's strategic. It's strategic. We got to ensure that we're giving them the access that they need. Most of the time, our students are just unfamiliar with how the test questions look. And that's something that we can purposely fix. We have to be purposeful in our attempts to ensure we're giving them the exposure that they need. So as you think about that, think about how that will impact what you're doing across the entire year. And here's the kicker. Now you're talking about differentiated bell rings and exit tickets as well when possible. Yeah, I know it's a little bit extra sometimes, but guess what? Our kids are worth it. They need the extra learning. They need the extra opportunity. And perhaps I need more work in a particular area than this student. And as the educator, we got to ensure we give it to them. We got to ensure we allow them that opportunity so that they continue to grow. You say, wow, yeah. So when we think about that, that's powerful, you all. That's one great way to ensure that you are preparing for testing across the year. You don't want to have to cram it. Remember, we talked about consistency. And the only way to ensure that that happens now, here's the monitoring for greatness. You got to monitor for greatness. You got to expect that they're doing it, but then you go in and ensure that they're doing it by looking. That they're not just doing a bell ringer that fits their need for that particular day, but it fits the needs of the students. Second thing, and we're going to be brief, as I said, that we only have a few today, but mock testing without over testing. Sure, you got to have your time assignments, time tests, right? You want to have practice tests to improve, but here's the setup. Assigned seating that does not change. Across the year, if you're able to test in classrooms, which is, I feel like it's a lot better for outcomes when you're able to test in classrooms versus testing in huge gym settings, and you have to have this number of proctors to be in with this number of kids, when you can have a classroom where generally you only need that proctor and the administrator. so you can get away with two, but it makes the testing environment so much smaller and conducive. But here's the thing. If we're gonna do it the same way every time without over testing, we can do it in our classrooms if we've already set up the schedule and it moves throughout the year. The testing schedule goes with us throughout the year. The same students remain in the room. Only thing that would change would be the teacher, right? So you're doing not only benchmark testing this way, but there's a third one right here coming in, right out, but also your classroom assessments. You want them to look like the test format complexity as well, but also keep in mind, you want to make sure that it's set up also just like the mock testing. Now think about the power in this. Now you got classroom testing as well as simulated mock testing that's going on throughout the year, and it looks the same. The only thing that changes is the teacher in the room. The students remain the same. But how powerful is that if you purposefully and intentionally plan that and practice it? It's not something that you can just throw together. It's something that has to be year long. We're talking about year-long testing strategies. How you get in the mode and stay in the mode where you're already ready. This is crucial, and you don't want to over-test. You don't want to do it so much that it becomes routine. That's why you got to mix it up. Not just the mock testing looks like it, but also the classroom assessments can look like it as well. Now, we don't know which one is which, but we prepare for either or. Say that again. We don't know which one is which, but we're prepared for either or because we are familiar with the setup. That allows your students so much confidence. That gives them so much confidence. It builds on the consistency. Now I don't have to worry about my environment. That's the least of my thinking when I go into a test zone and I'm already familiar with it. There's power in that. It's not about the frequency that you get, that you do these mock tests at. It's about the feedback that you get from them. So what are you going to do with the data from these mock assessments, from these classroom assessments? Because if you don't do anything with it, you wasted everybody's time. Yeah, I got to let that sink in. If you're not going to use the data, all you're doing is doing a simulated mock test. Yeah, we're going in there, but now we're not going to use the data to grow, to be better. All we did was waste time. So it's powerful, you all. Also, and I'm gonna go back and kind of intertwine this in with those classroom assessments. In addition to those state formatted test items, you want to also provide opportunities for claims and evidence. In math, you want to be able to justify those responses, still having the option or the format of the state test, but now I want to add in a piece where you justify it. You add that written justification in. That's powerful, you all. That's powerful, right? Same thing that we talked about with your bell ringers at the top. You want to make sure that across the week we have 4 bell ringers, and then the 5th day is for written justification. So now you're getting a review, but you're also getting a written justification. Now, the 5th day, it doesn't look like the state format, but you still are going back and looking at the state formatted test type questions because you're reviewing them. So again, it's more experience, it's more exposure. It is a powerful strategy, a powerful tactic to add on to what you do. I know you're doing your bell rings. I know you're doing your exit tickets. You're probably doing your mock testing, but you're definitely doing your classroom assessment. But we just added some powerful pieces that could take those processes to next levels. Continue to work with your students. Continue to work with your teachers across the year. Test initiative. Test prep initiative. That's a true thing. That's a whole thing. There are millions, not millions, but a lot of great testing strategies, test prep strategies that our students are not aware of. Many that our teachers are not aware of. So if we make that an initiative each week, we're presenting students with new test prep strategies. Think about how many test prep strategies they've been exposed to across the year. Now, add to the fact that now you're going to actually have some teachers who actually use it and have the students to use it during the class. This is a powerful way to prepare for testing without making it just like it's just this amazing thing that because we know there's not a whole lot of fun in it. So we got to make sure that we are consistent in the way that we're preparing for it. So think about those test prep initiatives. Another fifth idea for year-long test prep, in addition to your test prep initiative, study skills initiative. That's different. Test prep is one thing, but studying is another thing. So there are lots of different ways in which you can study and train students to be able to do that. But it has to be purposeful, because once that light bulb goes off, once they learn that particular strategy that moves them or that helps them or that they are anxious to know more about, that's the light bulb that you need to push students to next levels. So that's 5 powerful ways in which you can do year-long test prep. And it's only adding to what you're already doing, because in our schools, I know that you're doing your bell rings. I know that you're doing your exit tickets. It's just the monitoring of those, how they're delivered, how they're reviewed, that's going to ensure that you are consistently delivering year-long My phone died, you all. I'm gonna go on out of here. It's about to die again.